The reach. How many lessons have I given here, other communities? Probably close to 100, maybe a few more, maybe a little less. Not really exactly sure. I have to say, the talk today is one of the most difficult ones I've ever put together. And I think that there's a reason for that, is that I've received compliments from my speaking and my ability to come up and communicate with people. Some people like what I have to say, some people don't. But I can normally communicate the message fairly well. But I have to say that this particular talk, I had to totally give to Spirit. So I don't know what's really going to come out of my mouth today. Actually, I have a little bit of an idea, but you know, if Spirit decides to go this way, I'm going to go there. I'm totally releasing any attachment or any ego that I have in this talk today. And now with that long preface, I need to tell you how this song and this topic came about. I was in the process a couple of weeks ago of repainting my front deck. And I decided that it was a nice day, and I decided that if I was going to be outside for most of the day, that I was going to have some music going to sort of keep my spirits up. And I went to my daughter and I said, honey, can I borrow your MP3 boombox speaker? She has this thing where she can plug her MP3 player in and it amplifies it like a speaker, and I don't have to wear headphones. I didn't want to wear headphones. I was outside. It was hot and sweaty. So I thought, well, I'll use this. And so as I got my little MP3 player together, I was looking at it, and I saw that, oh, wow, I can shuffle all the songs. I don't think I've ever used that feature. So I decided I would push shuffle, and I had about 1,300 songs on my little MP3 player. And I was hoping and praying that I would be done painting the deck before it played all of them. And about 6 to 10 songs into the chore of painting my deck, this song, the song you just heard, came on. And it blew me away, because I know that I must have heard this song at some time in my life, because I owned the album that it came out on. And I know that I listened to the album, but for some reason the song was completely lost to my memory. As you saw on the previous slide, this song was written by Dan Fogelberg. And this song appeared on his album called The Innocent Age. There was a couple of things that I thought about this talk and about this idea of what the reach is. And first of all, what is the reach? And I have to thank my cell phone for going off in the middle of a talk here, so we're going to mute that here a second. I actually ended up calling Sedgwick, Maine, which is where the reach is. You really can't see it on this map here, but this is Sedgwick, Maine. And a reach is a body of water. It's a narrow, straight body of water that goes between two bodies of land. So here you have Sedgwick, Maine, and you have the reach here that goes right here. This is what they call the reach. This is Deer Isle, Maine. And this particular reach has a name called the Eggemoggin Reach. And I didn't know what Eggemoggin meant. So I called the Sedgwick Historical Society, and I spoke to a gentleman by the name of Frederick Marston, who was there. And he told me that the Eggemoggin Reach meant a pipe. If you look at this, it's an Indian word for pipe. So this is the long stem of the pipe, and here in the Penobscot Bay, it opens up into the bowl of the pipe. And so Eggemoggin Reach. And this was an area that was settled by separatists and Puritans, real salt of the earth people, really deeply committed to their faith. One of the more prominent Presbyterian and ministers that was really promoted baptism was from this area. And this song talks about the struggle of these people, the struggle of being these lobster fishermen that actually have to go out and they have to go through this struggle and to finally accomplish their goal. And I have to say that I consulted with a friend of mine on this song who is a self-professed Dan Fogelberg expert. And his thoughts were so beautiful that I wanted to share this with you. The Reach is about recognizing that work and struggle are two of our main ways of gaining access to true understanding, along with peace and happiness. So much of the song is about unhappy events of the moment. The northers will bluster and blow. The wind brings a chill. The morning will blow away as the waves crash and roll. The days get lonely and long. The young boys cold and complaining. The lost and the unchosen. Fogelberg doesn't paint a picture of pure enjoyment at all. It's effort. It's overcoming. Sacrifice. More than anything else, it's staring down the elements that try to conquer us. It is in that the Reach teaches her ultimate lesson. No one that can be felt to the depths of one's soul. The easy way isn't the best way. Without even using the word, one can feel the brotherhood that is felt when all these people come together to do their jobs. You can feel the kinship, the unity, and you know that it brings a closeness that can only be realized when people team up to do something worthwhile in overcoming difficult obstacles. The Reach is about finding within overcoming the rough personal endeavors we face. The insight into knowing that the only place we can really demonstrate responsibility, toughness, and greatness. And then I will add to that our heaven. The Innocent Age was Dan Fogelberg's highest commercial success. This song appeared on side 3 of a double album. The album included such songs as Leader of the Band, Same Old Lang Syne, It's Hard to Say, Where Love Went Wrong, and Run for the Roses. This album was about life. This album was about how he had started to see his life. And I thought it was very poetic that in 1979, Dan Fogelberg, up to that point, had had a very modest career. He had had a couple of top 40 hits, but he wasn't really that superstar. And in 1979, he came out with the unbelievable smash hit, Longer. And it catapulted him to that next level. And I found it really interesting that his next album, after his greatest commercial success, was an album called The Innocent Age. If you'll flip the thing. And The Innocent Age, according to sources, was Dan's way of dealing with the fact that he was turning 30. So here you have a baby doll that's in front of a gravestone. But you also have the idea that here was somebody who had achieved the pinnacle of success. He had had this great success with a song called Longer, and now all of a sudden he was reflecting on his life and on his innocence, and he was trying to figure out the meaning. You would think that someone who came to the mountaintop would already know it all. But he found out that his ego and all of this wasn't what it was made out to be. And I think that for me in this lesson today was that it is not about how I show up. It's about how Spirit shows up through me. And how Spirit shows up through you and what you do. Dan was obviously searching in this moment. He was looking for his heaven again. If you would have said to somebody, if you talked to any songwriter and you said, what would you do if you would have a song of the year and a number one song? Most songwriters would say they would give anything. But what happens when you get that anything? What happens when you have this opportunity to say, wow, that's it? Doesn't really seem to fulfill me. What does fulfill me? Dan had developed a love for the Sedgwick, Maine coastline and for the island of Deer Isle. A matter of fact, even though he maintained his home in Colorado, he had a home in that area, and that is actually where he died in 2007. He had a deep commitment to this area and to the people of that area and to the heritage of that area, and he wanted to celebrate that in song because it was about real people with real struggles and how he saw them going out to sea and going through this hard life, coming home, living this life that their elders had lived before them. They were continuing on through the tradition of this experience. He found an innocence in this. He found that this is what these people do. This is how they live their life. They live it authentically. They live it with integrity to themselves. And although he had achieved this great pinnacle of success, he admired this very existence. He loved this area. He ended up developing a love for sailing. And in his days of sickness, he enjoyed many hours of sailing, I guess, to take his mind off of this condition of prostate cancer. What can we take from this whole experience of the reach, and what reaches do we have? There's a line in the song, if you'll flip to the next screen, that really just kept haunting me. The reach will lie frozen for the lost and the unchosen to row. We can look at Dan's success and say, and then we can look at the follow-up album, The Innocent Age, and we can say, wow, he achieved this, and then all of a sudden, he had this epiphany or this chance to reflect. But this line to me says that he would have never even had that experience to be able to reflect had he never set out to sea. Had he never decided I am going to be a songwriter and I am going to present my music to the world and I am going to let it take me wherever it takes me. And if it takes me back to realizing that I have lost something in my innocence, that's where it's going to be. And how can we apply this line to our life? How many times do we not do something with fear of what may happen? Are we really stepping out into the sea, into the reach? Are we really going about what is ours to do? Are we really willing to accept the sacrifices and wherever that experience takes us? If not, the reach in our life is frozen. We're stuck. We can't go anywhere. We won't grow. And we'll live a very hollow existence. It's very funny, the dance between success and success. The dance between human success and spiritual success. For although it is very important for us to live authentically and do this, we learn in Matthew chapter 6, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. This verse has certainly been quoted a million times, and certainly probably misquoted a million times. It does not say, do not store up your treasures. It just says, don't store them up here on earth. Store them up in heaven. Well, what is heaven? Where are we storing our treasures? We learn from the revealing word, if you'll flip to the next. Go on, flip again. Go ahead. The Christ consciousness. The realm of divine mind. A state of consciousness in harmony with thoughts of God. So let's just take that line there. A state of consciousness in harmony with thoughts of God. Sit with that for a moment. Heaven is everywhere present. It is the orderly, lawful adjustment of God's kingdom in man's mind, body, and affairs. Jesus, of all those claiming intimate acquaintance with spiritual things, gave heaven a definite location. The kingdom of God is within you. Heaven is within every one of us, a place, a conscious sphere of mind, having all the attraction described or imagined as belonging to heaven. But this kingdom is not material, it's spiritual. Store up your treasures in a conscious sphere of mind, having all the attraction described or imagined belonging to heaven. That's a fancy way of saying follow your joy. Follow that place that gives you that peace of mind within you. Don't get lost in, oh my God, I'm going to have to give up my 401k if I switch this job. Oh my God, what am I going to do for my retirement? Oh my God, how am I going to live my life? Live it in joy. Do we trust Spirit or do we not? Are you willing to go out on the reach and allow it to teach you to the depths of your soul? Are you willing to experience that life that brings you to that heaven consciousness? If you go back to the screen before, go back to the one before that. Matthew 6, verse 24, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. If you go to the next screen. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, must give up the ego. I had to give up my ego when I came in here today. I had to trust the words that came out of my mouth. I normally have a really solid outline in my mind of what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And I have to be honest with you, I was painfully ill-prepared for my own ego. And on the way here, I said, God, let my words be your words. Let me be who I'm going to be. Let me experience this. Let me trust the Spirit through me to not make it about Chris Foster, but make it about the Christ through Chris Foster. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. I've always been fascinated with this verse. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me and the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? And what can anyone in exchange give for their soul? There's other verses that quote this. It's harder for a rich man to pass through the eye of a needle. Or it's harder for a camel to pass through, or harder for a rich man to enter heaven than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. I'll get it right. It's not about not making money. It's not about living in poverty. It's about having the right things. All of these things will be added back to you. As you live in your joy, as you live in your experience, as you live in your reach, as you sail out to sea to catch that which is yours to catch, and to come home and to know that through all of the struggle and through all of the pain and through all of the things that you might have experienced, that's the way to heaven. That is the way to really appreciate the treasure. There was another quote from a man, if you move on, two slides. This was a man, William Bechter, who was a Presbyterian minister, who came up with the 10 Kanats, and this was a very interesting economic philosophy. And although he is quoted many times in Forbes magazine, I found this quote in Forbes magazine: "What our country really needs most are those things which money cannot buy. What it needs is our spirit, expressing who we truly are meant to be, who we're truly here to become, to claim our heaven, to not build our castles in this world, but to build our kingdom in the sphere of our minds, to know that we're growing beyond this physical existence. The awareness of this today is our blessing, is our reach. We are reaching today. So right now in this moment, as we begin to shift into our meditation, let's just think about our lives and what is our heaven.